Hey everyone, and welcome back to Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel. Um, so 1982 that we're talking about here. So the movie we're going to take a look at today that we're going to review on this video is one that I'd seen before. I think I saw it on Shudder a year, maybe two ago. But it's the first time I'm watching it on the physical media that I purchased. And that movie is from my Severn DVD collection, Next of Kin from 1982. This is an Australian made film. So, yeah, Next of Kin from a Severn release. You can see there's a lot of, I haven't watched all these, but there's a lot of special features there as part of this. So it's a pretty nice release. So, but let's talk about Next of Kin from 1982. So, Next of Kin is a 1982 psychological horror Australian film co-written and directed by Tony Williams and starring Jackie Kieran and John Jarrett. So the movie starts after her estranged mother's death. Linda Stevens inherits a rural estate called Montclair, which she has which has been in her family for years. The rambling structure houses a long-held retirement community for the elderly. Linda arrives on the same night as a new boarder, the aged Mrs. Ryan, dropped off by her son Calvin. Shortly after Linda settles in, a resident in the house is found drowned in a bathtub. Linda begins reading old diaries left in the house by her mother, in which she describes being unsettled in the home and believing someone is watching her. She also finds handwritten medical records for her Aunt Rita, which disturbs her as she was told that Rita had been dead at the time they were written. So yeah, that's to set up the premise, the beginning of Next of Kin from 1982. As far as the cast goes, we have Jackie Kieran as Linda Stevens, John Jarrett as Barney, Alex Scott as Dr. Barton, Gerda Nicholson as Connie, Charles McCallum as Lance, Bernadette Gibson as Mrs. Ryan slash Rita, and Robert Ratty as Calvin. So yeah, that's to set up the premise in the cast for Next of Kin from 1982. I like this movie. It doesn't get talked about a whole lot. I think it's kind of an obscure, under the radar sort of 1982 horror movie, an exploitation movie, a giallo to a certain extent. It can fall into a lot of different categories, but there's quite a few things that I like about this movie. So let's go ahead and talk about it, starting with the things that I like about Next of Kin from 1982. And you got to start with the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere that's created here is fantastic. There's some great atmosphere throughout the movie through filming techniques and slow motion camera movements, lighting, cinematography, and images, and of course the score as well. All of those things coming together really make this movie um, a movie that should be more talked about than it is. From what I read, from what I researched, the movie didn't have a lot of story to it, as far as the written script goes, and so the director Tony Williams did a great job of creating atmosphere to make the movie a little bit more interesting and a little more entertaining than it otherwise probably would have been from the script that was given to him. And speaking of the score, one of the elements in that atmosphere, this movie has a really great score that definitely adds to the overall effectiveness of the story. It's very creepy, very steady. There isn't any loud booms or it's not it doesn't change a whole lot. It's kind of consistent in that regard, but I think that works for this movie, and I really like the score. Definitely one of the best parts of this movie. I think the performances are all really solid, especially by our lead character here, the main star, Jackie Kieran, who is both likable. Her character is both likable and sympathetic throughout the movie with everything that's going on, and we kind of like her, you know. And I think that Jackie Kieran does a great job bringing that life to this character. So she really stands out. But really across the board, I think everybody's good in this movie. So good performances. The movie definitely has some giallo elements to it that were well done and make the story and the imagery very stylish and cool to watch. It kind of plays into that atmosphere aspect that I was talking about. Yeah, definitely giallo vibes going on here, whether that was intentional or not. My guess is the director did some of that because, like I said, the script wasn't quite as um wasn't quite as thick or didn't have as much to it as if you would have just shot the movie straight up without adding those additional elements. And I think Giallo was one of those, so that really worked. I really liked the setting of this large house, Montclair Estate, as it's called. There's lots of rooms, lots of areas inside and outside of the house that the movie does a great job. The director does a great job of utilizing. Um, it really makes for an effective drop backdrop for this movie. So yeah, really like the setting. The ending of the movie, the last 15 minutes or so, definitely goes more exploitation, if you will, exploitation, and less like the first hour and 10 minutes is more giallo stylish, kind of slow burn sort of movie. Not investigative, but mystery sort of movie. The last 10 or 15 minutes when we kind of everything's been revealed to us, then it takes more of an exploitation kind of feel to it. And that really worked for me. I liked it. Even though there's a change in tone there, I don't know. It was well done. I think the director does a really good job here. That's the main takeaway from a lot of these pros. And the ending leaves an impact through the tension that's built up the last 15 minutes and the ultimate finale, which does end kind of abruptly with the ending credits rolling. But I think it kind of it's kind of takes your breath away a little bit and kind of leaves you with a boom, so to speak. So I didn't see the twist or the reveal coming. I thought it was very well done. Um, it made sense when you go back and watch the movie, where it wasn't manipulated. It wasn't sort of a lot of times in movies, especially during this time, you get a twist or a reveal. It doesn't really work. That it felt like it was tacked on. That really wasn't the case here. I thought this was a very good twist, and as I said, I didn't see it coming. So they definitely did something right there in how it was presented, as far as what was going on in the house and the deaths and everything, what or who was responsible for them. So yeah, lots of good stuff for Next of Kin here from 1982, from the Australian horror film. As far as cons go, I don't have a whole lot. They're really more warnings as part of my recommendations for people. This is indeed a slow burn horror movie that does take its time to get going, especially in the middle of the movie. Like there's an hour there that's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of discovering rooms and characters and things. And there are some slower scenes that set up the characters and the tension. So that might not be everyone's cup of tea. Basically, it's a psychological burn kind of movie. Um, so you just kind of have to know that going in. If that's not really your thing, if you're somebody that wants horror in your face throughout the movie, then this movie's probably not going to be for you. But it is a slow burn, so I definitely want to put that out there. It's not a huge con for me, but you should know it going in. Um, so so there's not a lot of gory on-screen kills. That's another thing you should know going in. This is a psychological thriller slash horror movie. There is some kills. Some of them are off screen. There's a little blood in the movie, especially towards the end, but it's more from a discover after the fact standpoint as opposed to like a gore on screen, kills on screen kind of standpoint. The scares are much more subtle in this movie than in your face or jump scares, although there are kind of some jump scares, but not really, not in the cheap way that you kind of think of with jump scares. Um, but yeah, those are things that are less of more of a traditional horror movie. It's more subtle. Things going on more in the background through the stylish camera, the film work, and the shooting and the giallo aspects to it. That makes it a little bit more creepy. So it's just another kind of thing to know. Um, and there is quite a bit of exposition scenes, I guess I should say, in that hour that I was talking about as part of the slow burn in this movie. So, yeah, that's really all I've got for cons, guys. The cons aren't really cons to me. They're more, I don't even know if warnings is the right word, but things just to know going into this movie before you watch it. It's not going to be for everybody, but I really enjoy it. Next of Kin from 1982. I'm going to give this movie, I was teetering back and forth on a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. I think I am going to go with 7.5 because it is a very specific kind of horror movie that I think I am going to have to be more in the mood for than some other horror movies that are more like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. But I really do like it, that being said. So 7.5 out of 10 for Next of Kin from 1982. If you haven't seen this movie, I do recommend it. Just know those things going in that I talked about in my cons there. But yeah, otherwise, I would recommend Next of Kin from 1982, 7.5 out of 10. With all that being said, please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for 1982 here. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any of my reviews or any of my great other horror content I have coming up. It really helped me out with the channel too. If you could subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So, with all that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying this trip down 1982 as part of my overall 1980s horror series. I got two more coming up this week. It's going to be three every week for the next month and 3 weeks before we take a month off and then get back into it for another month and 3 weeks. And of course, I'll have a top 15 horror movies of 1982 at the end of this whole part of the series, which will probably be around the end of December. So, with all that being said, thanks for watching, and as always, stay scared. Bye.